Okay, Be'ez Hashem, we're going to be finishing off Perek Lamed Aleph. Let's just a little bit of a recap, I guess, of what we were talking about. Is that the beginning of Perek Lamed Aleph told us how careful we have to be to make sure that we don't lead into a depression, because although the thought process of Averas, of all the things that we're missing, the lack of connection, all of these things are wonderful things to do, and they eventually lead to positivity. They have to be utilized in the right way. They have to be channeled in the right way so that it actually leads to a positive outcome. So here we go now with the positive outcome, and he's going to give us a bit more about that. That's what we're holding Perek Lamed Aleph. Meaning, if a person utilizes what we've been talking about, and the screaming, he arouses the gevura, the anger that we spoke about yesterday, in order to shout literally at his Yetzer Hara, then he's going to get to a real emes simcha. Dahainu, shezois yoshiv eliboy lenachamoy bekiflayim achar hadvorim v'emes ha'ele ha'nel. That means it gives him a double dosage of nechama, of comfort, after the meditation, this bonus that he's been doing. That true, it's negative and it started off in a negative way, but number one, the outcome is that the depression is now gone, and number two, that he's reached new levels in Yiddishkeit and connection to the Ribbono Shel Olam that he never would have got if he wouldn't have got through the negative side. You understand? In other words, the negativity that he thought about, that he went through, was a vehicle that led him to get this incredible now relationship with Hashem that he never had before. Lema, saying, Liliboy, emesu, kain, beli sofik. I'm agreeing 100%. The emes is, without any sofik, I am very far from the Ribbono Shel Olam. And not only far, all the negative lashonas of disgusting and whatever. However, and this was important for a person to say to himself, Kol zeh, hu ani levadi, hu haguf, im nefesh hachayunis shaboy. That means, basically, I'm a typical Beinani. What do you want from me? I'm a regular human being. I have problems, I have things that I suffer from, I have traumas, I have all sorts of things. I'm a Beinani. I work on myself, I try. I fall sometimes, but I try. Aval, and this going back to Perek Aleph, I'm going to remember that inside me is that beautiful, incredible, polished spark of Chelek al Hashem Mimah, which is mamish what we're saying every single person has, and we've been saying this all the way through. And I have to recognize that even though I'm going through this depressed state, and I'm thinking about how far I am, and all of these things, but inside me is this beautiful neshama. She never should have kissed him, mamish hamalubash ba'alachayusa. Yes, it's dressed in the nefesh habahamis. It's dressed in the guf. But what I'm trying to do is make sure that I know what's really going on inside. Rak, she bechinas golas. The beautiful spark inside me, that chelek hakam mimal mamish, that we all know that we possess, is right now in what we call bechinas golas. So what you're feeling, all these emotions, it's all your guf. It's your body, it's your physical part. It's not really the spiritual part of inside you, because that spiritual part has been put in golus, been put in exile. As far as I am from the Ribbono Shel Olam, Harry never should be begolus godel yoisa. The further that I feel from my connection to the Ribbono Shel Olam means that my nefesh kiss is still there. It just is more in Golas, deeper in Golas. And have tremendous rachmanis on this poor neshama that came all the way from Kisai Kova down over here to this, physical world, and it's deep, deep, deep into Golas. And my entire mission in this world, my whole desire, is to be able to get it out of the Golas, to get it out from where it is hiding, from where it's within all the layers of the Timtum Aleid that we've been speaking about the last few Parakim. Laheshiva al Beis Avia, to return it to its father's house. To basically return her to her father's house before it got dressed in my body. Right? At that point, it was what I want to basically give it back to where it was. Right, the tachlis of where it was in this incredible aura of the Rebbeinu Shalom. V'gamato now came to Yakululu Mechadis Be'Yisbarach Ka'ar Sim Kol Magamosi B'Torah Mitzvos L'Habash Behem Kol Esa B'Chiduseo Now that means when I make Torah, learning Torah, keeping the Torah, connection to the Torah, and mitzvahs, my singular mission in this world, and that's all I want to do, and that's where I want to get to, or v'frat, specifically, b'mitzvahs tefillah, when it comes to davening, litzoik el Hashem b'tzarla migaluso b'gufi meshukatz, then I'm literally screaming out to the Rebbeinu Shalom that I realize that this chelik ha'kamim mamish that's inside me is covered in so many layers, and it's in a golus inside my physical guf, and all I want is lahitzia, to take it out. Mimazgal dovka b'yisbarach. Right, and I have so much pity on this poor neshama in that case, this exiled soul, that it gives me more motivation, be able to do everything that I can to reveal this incredible soul. V'zu hi bechinas tshuva u'maisim toivim. Now, the Tanya is about, and he's going to tell us in the next paragraph a bit more, but this idea, everyone's heard this idea of the expression, right? It's better than Mishnah Pirkei, but we all know the expression, tshuva maisim toivim. What does that mean, tshuva maisim toivim? Kind of doesn't go together. Tshuva is to do tshuva on the Averis, maisim toivim is good deeds, like what shaychas. They're almost opposites, like what shaychas one to the other. So the Tanya is teaching us that it's not just tshuva maisim toivim, but he's talking about when you do maisim toivim, with the kavana of tshuva lashon shav, returning. If you're doing ma'asim tovim for that purpose, then you're accomplishing something incredible. Let's look at how he says it. Shehem ma'asim tovim she'oseh kedei lahoshiv, in order to return chelik Hashem, the chelik Hashem that you have inside you, l'mekoira v'shosha v'chol ha'omen, to return it to its original source, to where it comes from, which is of course the illumination, the light, the incredible things of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Moving on, v'zois tia avodoso kol yomov b'simcha rabba. This is your avodah, your entire lifetime, with tremendous simcha. He simchas hanefesh b'tseisa ma'guf u'mesoy v'shovel beis aviyah kinureh b'shasa tov avodah. What happens when you learn Torah and when you do Avodas Hashem is that's exactly what you're doing. And that's why you should feel tremendous simcha when you're learning Torah, and tremendous simcha when you have the opportunity to do a mitzvah. It's because you have the realization that the more you do that, the more you're revealing your beautiful neshama, the more you're peeling off layer after layer after layer of the tintum alei that it's got from doing all the negative things that shouldn't be done. But the more Torah that you learn, the more connected you are to Torah and mitzvahs, the more you're revealing it. And that's why you should have a great simcha. There's a Balatanya for Kamai representing Zal, like the Gemara Shabbos Kufna Gimel, Leo's called Yomov b'tshuva, that a person his whole life should be oisik in tshuva. Again, he doesn't mean tshuva meaning al chait, or shamnu bagadu. Avad, that's also a beautiful thing if a person does tshuva. He doesn't mean that. He means tshuva meaning by doing maisim tovim, by learning Torah mitzvahs. That is tshuva, lashon shav, returning, getting closer to Hashem. There is no simcha that is greater than the simcha of the realization that the body is trapping within it the neshama, and therefore the simcha is to allow it to be free every time you learn Torah and every time you do a mitzvah. That's why he keeps on saying this idea that when a person goes into this meditation of depression and he's thinking about it kedei to get to a positivity, it leads to a tremendous simcha, because he recognizes that al yedei Torah mitzvahs, it now allows that neshama that's got all the layers to actually come out, to illuminate and to be in its original source. Kimshal, like a moshel ben melech, shoy b'shivya v'toichem b'beis asur, menuva b'alshpa, v'atzol l'choshu b'beis oviv ha'melech. In other words, a moshel, obviously there's a king, obviously there's a prince, and the prince is, roaming around at the garbage because he doesn't recognize who it is, and you take him out and you put him back to the palace. It's like, wow, unbelievable, what a celebration. Same idea. Even though the guf lemaisa remains in its physical world, in all of its, down things and negativity things, that's what we call it. We call it the serpent's skin. Because at the end of the day, in a Beinani, the Metzias of a Beini, we said this many times, the Metzias of a Beini is he never switched himself over. He never turned himself into Toiv, because that's a tzaddik, right? He's still a Beinani. If you focus on the nefesh elikis and let it be precious in your eyes, you'll have tremendous simcha. La'arbev ulevalbel simchas hanefesh be'itzvon haguf. If your primary focus is the simcha of the neshama, then you won't allow, right, it to be compromised in any way by the state that your body is in a physical manner. V'hinei, bechina zui, bechina yetzias Mitzrayim. This idea of redeeming the neshama that you have inside you is of captivity, of being hidden and trapped in the body, is a bechina of yetzias Mitzrayim. The Sfarim HaKadoshim were busy with this by Pesach time a lot. Shnei ba ki vorach ha'om, right? They ran. The l'chayra hu tamua. Lama ha'isa kazayis. Why did it have to be this way? V'chi ilu omru lepar l'shalcham chav shel ha'olam lahir mucham l'shalcham. Meaning, if after 10 makkahs, the plagues that the Mitzrim experienced, even if Bnei Yisrael would have actually asked to leave forever, he would have agreed. The problem was that the evil in their heart was still potent. It still had a lot of power, meaning it started in there not really to leave permanently. Right? They still had a little bit of Mitzrayim, Egypt in their souls, at least on the left side. The Zuhuma Gemara tells us, right, the sweat, literally, but of course it means in a spiritual manner, only stopped by Matan Torah. When they got to Har Sinai, when they, Mamash were holding there, holding Mamash Chodesh Sivan. Sa'akoponim, Chsiyat Shmai, of learning this at this time, unbelievable. That's when the Zuhuma stopped. Before then, the koyach of Mitzrayim was still inside them. In other words, there was tension. What was going on in Mitzrayim was there was tension between the Nefesh HaBahamis and the Nefesh Elokis, which is why they didn't really want to leave, because the animal soul, the Nefesh HaBahamis, really was drawn towards the Ra, was drawn towards the evil. It was only when they left for a short amount of time and they saw this goal of Har Sinai, of Kabbalah Satorah, then their neshama, their Nefesh Elokis, started to start working overtime to overpower everything, and now they could leave completely in that case. So once they tore themselves away, even in a small amount from their animalistic soul, from the Nefesh HaBahamis, now all of a sudden they wanted to leave forever. It was the process of Yetzias Mitzrayim. Or Diksiv, Hashem uzi, umanosi b'yam tzorah, v'chulei miskav umanosi, v'chulei v'humanasli, all the psukim, all the reasons, and we're not going to go to at this moment of time. V'lochein, la'asit, what will be in the future, Kishiyav Hashem ruach hatumah manos, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu be'ez Hashem very, very soon will remove all the ruach tumah from the world. Ksiv, what does it say? Right, in other words, you're not going to go out in haste, in quickness, in a fight. The Rabbeinu Shalom is going to be in front of you. And it will be with more dignity, with more power, with more koyach. And the simcha that the neshama is going to have is going to be even greater illumination. If we're able to say everything that we said before, that emes, my body is holding in this place, that's so beautiful, everything we said previously. I didn't create myself. At the end of the day, in front of the Rebbeinu Shalom, we're nothing. So why did the Rebbeinu Shalom make me in such a way, and so to speak, bring down this beautiful chedik of his or into this world over here, which in this world is nothing compared to Rebbeinu Shalom, and dress this beautiful neshama in what we call Lashon Zoya, the serpent's skin, of course referring to our own bodies. If you ask yourself why the Rabbeinu Shalom put my neshama in this low body and in this low world, it's because it's Yerida Shetzorich Aliyah. Gemara Makkos, right? Second parak. Lahalas LaHashem Kol Nefesh HaChayunos HaBahamis Shemeklipas Noiga. In order to be able to mala, to go up the Nefesh HaChayunis from Klipas Noiga. As we said, that is very possible for everyone to do on a small level, at least at certain times during the day. The way to do it is, of course, to immerse your Maisa, Dibur, and Machshava in Torah. Like we are going to see Be'ez Hashem a little bit later on, Perek Lamed Hey, we'll get there in Halal Zu Barichas Eicha Tachlis B'Yis Olam. How this aliyah, this rising up, is the Tachlis of the ganze B'Yis of the Olam. Ve'im Kain Ever Zois Elsa Zois Tia Kol Magamosu Kol Yimei Cheldi. At the end of the day, what's the purpose of this whole life on this world? The Chol Behem Chai Ruch Nafshi Kamesh Kosev Eilecha Hashem Nafshi Elsa Dahainu Lakasha Machshavti V'Diburi Machshavti Diburi Yisparach. The idea is to connect my machshavas, my dibur, my machshavas, to the Machshavas and Dibur the Rabbanu Shalom, Ve'hein hein gufei halachos v'ruchos lefenenu, Ve'chein ma'isa v'ma'isa mitzvahs. It's also by Torah that way. It's also by some mitzvah that way. Shalachein nikos atov mishivas nofesh perish lemikover shoshav al zenema. And this is such a beautiful thing for a person to learn right before Shavuos. The Torah comes from Simcha because the aliyah that it does to your nefesh bahamis, to your animalistic soul, is so incredible because it causes the light to illuminate. It peels off the layers and it gives a person a tremendous Simcha. So know that yes, a person sometimes has to recognize where he's holding in the low world. But yes, the Rebbeinu Shalom created you that way, but he created you the beautiful neshama which can come out and illuminate, and you can peel the layers as long as you immerse yourself as much as possible in Torah and mitzvahs. Be'ez Hashem. We'll continue B'siyat Shema Lamed Beis after Yom Tov.